From one night stand to Soulmates, how I fell in love with my baby's mom. I never expected one wild night to change my life. 4 years ago, I, 27M, met Mila, 25F, at a mutual friend's birthday party. We were both reeling from long-term breakups, and a lot of drinks later, I woke up tangled up with her on our friend's couch. We were mortified. I remember her burying her face in her hands and mumbling she couldn't believe it. Neither of us was looking for anything serious, so we swapped numbers and awkwardly went our separate ways. 3 months later, she texted me out of the blue. I figured she might want to try dating, but when I met her at the coffee shop, she looked like she'd been crying for days. As soon as I sat down, she broke down completely. Through sobs, she told me she was pregnant, and I was the only possible father. I felt my whole world tilt. I was 23, clueless, terrified, and definitely not ready to be a dad. But we did a DNA test, and it was mine. She moved into my place because she'd been sharing a tiny room with a roommate. The guest room became hers. My office became the nursery. We named him Andy. At first, it was survival mode. Diapers, 3 a.m. feedings, figuring out how to be co-parents without really being a couple. I never planned on kids, but the second Andy was born, I knew I'd do anything for him. Mila was an amazing mom. Smart, caring, resilient. Even when she was exhausted, she was patient. Sometimes, in those early weeks, she'd fall asleep next to me on the couch, and I'd catch myself wishing we were more. Except for one kiss after Andy was born, there was never anything romantic. We just worked. She focused on grad school while I handled bills and supported them both. Over time, she became my closest friend, the person I trusted most. But I never dared tell her how I felt. Fast forward almost 3 years. Andy was about to turn 3. One night, Mila asked if I wanted her to move out now that Andy was older. She said it would let me date again, that we could co-parent separately. I froze. I mumbled no, and retreated to my room like a coward. The truth? I loved her. Not just as Andy's mom or my friend. I was completely in love with her. She was everything, beautiful, smart, funny, strong. But I was terrified to say it and ruin everything. For days, I couldn't stop thinking about that conversation. About how it would feel to watch her move out, start dating, maybe meet someone else. And how Andy would never see us together again. I realized I'd rather risk it all than keep pretending. I left work early one Friday. Picked Andy up from nursery and dropped him at my mom's. I bought flowers and cleaned the house while Mila was in class. My hands were shaking when I texted her to come home. We needed to talk. When she walked in, her eyes were wide. The first thing she asked was where Andy was. She looked ready to bolt out the door to find him. I hugged her until she calmed down and promised he was safe with my mom. We sat in the living room, and I handed her the flowers. My voice cracked when I finally told her the truth. I loved her. That I'd been scared to ruin our friendship. That it hurt when she suggested leaving because the thought of losing her broke me. She started crying. Through tears, she confessed she'd felt the same way since she was pregnant but was too embarrassed to say anything. She thought I wouldn't want her because she never got back to her pre-pregnancy body. She worried she'd ruined my life with the baby. She even admitted she'd get jealous when I went on dates. I told her she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen and that Andy and she were the best things that ever happened to me. We talked for hours about everything, our fears, our hopes, what we wanted. Later that night, we went to a little restaurant near our place. No wine, we both wanted to remember every second. After dinner, we drove home and kissed in the car like we were teenagers. When we got inside, we put on a terrible horror movie and she fell asleep in my arms. It was the happiest I'd been in my entire life. Andy's birthday was soon after. He dressed up as Bingo from Bluey. Mila was Chili. I was Bandit. When Andy looked at us in our costumes and said, "I always wanted this," I had to blink back tears. We started officially dating. It was awkward at first, two people who had been co-parents longer than they'd been a couple, but we began couples therapy. We wanted to build something real, not just fall into it out of convenience. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. 8 months later, I proposed.